Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to our first, well, sort of our first, mainly our first Swarthmore webinar of the season. We have some coming up, and we will post to the chats, make sure that you know of the others that are coming up. As students and family members and counselors are joining us, we'll get started in just a moment here, but welcome to Applying to Swarthmore. Which application is right for you? I am joined by my colleague, admissions counselor Christina Danberg, who will be helping us out sort of as a silent partner here. She'll be answering some questions. If you have questions this evening or wherever you might be this afternoon, perhaps, but if you have questions, you can use the Q&A chat function. And ask your question and we will get to those. We might get to those in the middle, we might get to those at the end. We will certainly leave time though at the very end. And so we're excited to speak with you today. Let's get started in just a few moments here. All right. Well, welcome to Swarthmore's webinar, Applying to Swarthmore, which application is right for you? We hope, and I personally hope that this session is helpful for Swarthmore purposes, but also helpful beyond Swarthmore. So if you are applying to college or you're thinking about applying to college, maybe you're a junior and you're thinking about this early on for next year, we hope that you walk away with some knowledge about different application platforms. While we certainly hope that you consider applying to Swarthmore, that's not really the purpose of today's session. It really is to be as informational as possible. Again, if you're just joining us, if you have questions about today's topic, please go ahead and use the Q&A function. My colleague, Christine Danberg, will be answering some questions throughout their session today, and then we'll also leave time for questions that I can answer verbally at the end. So with that, my name is Andrew Moe. I am Director of Admissions here at Swarthmore College. I am joined by my roommate, daughter, Georgia. You might hear her, she gets a little nervous when she hears motorcycles or thunderstorms or really anything loud. So I will try my best if you do hear her to calm her down. But I appreciate your patience as we all work from home. I am the regional director, if you are applying to Swarthmore, from the city of Philadelphia, from Arizona, most of Tennessee, the Middle East, and Africa. And if you have questions, you can always email us at admissions@swarthmore.edu, but you can also email me directly at amoe1@swarthmore.edu, and I am happy to answer your questions. So let's get started. The Swarthmore application. We accept 3 different types of applications, the Coalition for College, the Common Application, and the Questbridge application. We have no preference for any type of application platform. And in fact, colleges really agree to use these application platforms under the assumption that there is going to be no preference if they accept more than one. So you're really at no disadvantage from one to the other. We will talk about some benefits of maybe using one over the other so that you can determine that for yourself, but there really is no preference for one over the other. We just ask that if you apply to Swarthmore that you choose one. Now there are some other colleges that are part of Questbridge. We'll talk about Questbridge in just a moment, where they do ask you to fill out Questbridge as well as another application. So there are some nuances here, but for us, we just ask that you choose one of these application platforms. And know that you can put your best foot forward forward, you can shine in any one of these applications. And we will talk a little bit more about that. What we won't be talking about too extensively this evening is holistic review. We actually have another webinar that's dedicated to holistic review and how we choose students. We will talk a little bit about how we consider students this evening, but mostly this is going to be an overview of our 3 application platforms, which are all online. Let's start out with the Coalition application, or the Coalition for College. It is a member organization, more than 150 colleges. This is directly from their website. They use the word top. I won't use the word top colleges, but more selective, both public and private colleges are members of the Coalition for College. They work with colleges that want to make college affordable for students, and they also want you to graduate on time, graduate within a 4-year time period. And so these colleges, including Swarthmore, are really dedicated to that. We also want students to graduate with little to no debt. It's important for us to make this as affordable as possible, as well as ensure that you are walking away, if you wanted to go on a graduate school or get another degree, that you are able to do so with little to no debt. Coalition College members are also very committed to ensuring that barriers are broken down and removed for underserved students in higher education. So this could include low income, under-resourced students, first-generation students. Personally, I am first in my family to go to college, and I identify as a low-income student going through this process. So I really appreciate colleges that are out front, like Swarthmore is, in their commitment to ensuring socioeconomic diversity is represented, and that there is a broad commitment to financial aid. In addition to the Coalition application, the Coalition for College also offers online college planning tools called My Coalition. So this includes a virtual locker and spaces where you can collaborate with advisors and mentors and teachers on things like your essay, or you might store a video of your theater performance, or you might share an essay or a piece of writing with a trusted adult. So know that this is not only an application platform, but it also is meant to engage in younger students in the college search and application process. So like I said, 150 plus colleges. You can see a few in the state of Pennsylvania on the right-hand side here. This is not exhaustive even in the state of Pennsylvania. There are others, but I just drew a screenshot from their website. The Coalition application is open to all students, all backgrounds, regardless of identity or background. We do try to engage in under-resourced and underserved populations, as well as their schools and counselors. Broadly speaking, and again, this is a collection of public and private colleges, so can't really go out the door with just one statement about financial aid or access to financial aid. But if you're a public institution that you're offering in-state tuition, if you, or you can meet full financial need, which we will talk about Swarthmore's commitment to financial aid at the very end of this webinar, but we do meet full financial need. And that we're graduating students, again, with low to no debt and low default rates, which means that our students are able, even when they do take out loans, to pay back their debts. And that we're achieving high graduation rates, and especially for those with historically lower graduation rates, so low-income students, Pell-eligible students. And the Coalition application employs various deadlines. Every college is going to be different. Some colleges offer early decision, some colleges offer early action, and of course, most of us will at least offer regular decision, sometimes rolling admission. So why might you, as a student sitting here listening to a Swarthmore webinar, think about applying to using the Coalition application? Well, it's a pretty diverse selection of both public and private colleges. So it might be your state flagships within your state, which also uses the same application platform as a place like Swarthmore, a small liberal arts college. And we, like I said, are dedicated to ensuring that college is affordable. There is one set of profile questions. So again, these are all online applications. And we don't want you to spend all of this time filling out your demographic information, name, address, contact information over and over and over again. We want you to fill this information out once and apply it to multiple colleges. And that's exactly what you can do using the coalition application. So you just fill out the extracurricular activities, personal responsibilities, part-time job one time, and not for every college that you're applying to. And then one set of testing questions. There is a streamlined need-based application fee waiver system. And what I really appreciate about the Coalition for College is that you answer one set of questions. You say, I received free reduced lunch at my high school, or I already qualify for an ACT or SAT fee waiver. What will happen is that you click yes, if that is in case true, and then a dialog box pops up on the Coalition application, and it'll say, did you know that these other 20, 40, 70 colleges will also waive your application fee? Since application fees are charged by college and not the application platform, this is really important. And you can go directly to that dialog box, either on your phone or your computer, and you can add schools to your list right there. And you know that you will also qualify for a fee waiver using those schools. Like I said, there are early engagement tools, which might be another reason why you are using the Coalition. So maybe 9th or 10th grade, you are using some of those early engagement tools, and now it's time to apply. And you've already filled out some of your profile questions. And so why not continue applying using the Coalition application? And then finally, another good reason is you can easily, now I can't say that this is unique to Coalition. There are some other platforms that allow you to do this, but you can engage in mentors or college access advisors, counselors, to give you feedback on some of your written pieces like your essays. And it's pretty easy and seamless to do that. Some dates. So these are Swarthmore specific dates using the Coalition. You'll see this with the Common application as well, but the Coalition application is live for those of you who are entering fall 2021, also known as seniors in high school. The application is live. It went live August 1st. We have some decisions coming up. We have 2 rounds of early decision. Early decision 1, which we call fall early decision, is due November 15th. You hear back from us by December 15th or the middle of December. January 1st is when our early decision 2 round is due, which we call winter early decision. That's also the due date for regular decision. If you apply winter early decision, you hear back from us by February 15th. If you apply by regular decision, you'll hear back from us by April 1st, and you will let us know whether or not you are attending by May 1st. That's the notification date across the country. Now, other colleges using the Coalition application have their own deadlines. So you will have to do a little bit of research on that on their website or on the Coalition website about these deadlines. To learn more, we invite you to go to coalitionforcollegeaccess.org. You can find a ton more resources there. We also publish a little bit of information about the Coalition for College right on our website. So if you wanted to go to apply as a first-year student on our apply page, and I'm sure Christina can put that link in the chat box for you. But if you wanted to find out more about the Coalition application, you can go to these resources. And that is the Coalition application. The Common application, so we're going in alphabetical order here. The Common application is committed overall to access, equity, and integrity in the admissions process. This is a larger group of schools. So there are almost 900 colleges that are both public and private. This is not only in the United States, but they also have colleges around the world that are members. If you're a counselor or maybe a parent or guardian listening, you know that the Common application was started decades ago. And this was really a way where you could fill out one application and photocopy the application multiple times, and it would be used for the member colleges. Of course, now it's all online, but again, you fill out one set of questions. You can add colleges to your My College list. So you basically create a username and password, and then you can add colleges like Swarthmore to your list, and you can indicate whether or not you're applying to those. And what I love about Common Application is that there are just a ton of resources. There are guides to filling out the application, there's a blog, there are live and recorded webinars, there are resources for counselors and educators, there are also some family resources. So really just a wealth of information on their platform on the Common Applications website. So like I said, more than 900 colleges from every sort of area, right? Urban, suburban, rural, and small town. And again, just like the coalition application, there are going to be different deadlines. When we get to the Questbridge application, you'll see why it's important to look at some of those deadlines because they're just very different than the other two platforms. So why might I apply using the Common App? Well, there is immense diversity in colleges and universities, right? And so there are minority serving institutions like historically Black colleges and universities. There are Asian American, Asian Pacific Islander serving institutions, Hispanic serving institutions, predominantly white institutions. So there is pretty much every type of college you can possibly think of, small colleges, big colleges, et cetera. Like Coalition, you fill out one set of questions, so you don't have to do this over and over again, and it makes it pretty easy for you. It also has a pretty streamlined need-based application fee waiver system, but it also has a search function called Find a College, and that will allow you to narrow down colleges that don't even charge an application fee. And there are literally, I think, 600 colleges nationwide or so that don't charge any application fee at all. Just know that even if they charge an application fee, there are great fee waivers available if you identify as a low-income student. So Find a College search tool helps with that, but it also helps with if you wanted to attend an all-women's college or you were interested in colleges in a certain city or state. You can use different filters to sort of help you with your search process. And like I said, the guides to filling out the application, there is a really helpful application guide for first-year students that will help you sort of walk you through how to actually complete the application. This is very similar to the other slide that I shared with the Coalition. The Common Application also goes live August 1st, and we're live right now. Sorry about that. It is live right now. You can fill it out right now or just by the deadline. There's no advantage, at least at Swarthmore, to completing it early unless you apply under one of the early decision deadlines. And just know that every college using the Common Application will have their own set of deadlines. For more information about Common Application, go to commonapp.org. That's where you can create your username and password and complete some of the demographic information, contact information. If you're a younger student here, you can create a Common App account as well, and it will roll over. And so know that you don't have to recreate it when you're a senior. And we, again, offer a little bit of information about Common Application right on our website. For both Coalition and Common Application, we do ask that you choose one of 3 prompts. This is for your short answer. So between 150 and 250 words, you will write one of those, just one, not all 3, and tell us a little bit more about maybe your intellectual pursuits or your neighborhood, or why you're applying to Swarthmore. All right. And finally, we are part of Questbridge. And Questbridge can be a little complicated. I used to be the Questbridge liaison at Swarthmore and worked very, very closely with the organization. So I'll try to really spell this out as much as I can. But what I will say is Questbridge's website is really extensive. They have great videos and great how-tos. And so if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me, but also reach out to Questbridge or visit their website. Questbridge is a national nonprofit that is seeking high-achieving yet low-income students. So students who are doing really well in school, you might be top 5 or 10% of your class. You might have really strong grades in a college prep curriculum if that's offered at your school. If you have taken standardized testing, you have at least relatively high standardized testing. But your household income is going to be lower. It's going to be typically less than $65,000 a year for a family of four, with pretty minimal assets. This is not a hard and fast rule. You could have a very large family and make more income, and you could still qualify. So these are just helpful guidelines to tell you who is typically applying to Questbridge. Oftentimes, students are going to be first in their family to attend college. And oftentimes they're going to be eligible for free or reduced price lunch at school, specifically if you go to a public school, since public schools participate in those programs. There are 42 college partners. You can see all of them here, again, on their website. Swarthmore is a very proud partner of Questbridge, and we have been for a number of years. And this is sort of the components. Again, it's a little more complicated than this, but I wanted to spell this out a little bit more. In your junior year, you can apply for the College Prep Scholarship. So the College Prep Scholarship or College Prep Scholars are sort of these micro grants. You could receive funding for a new laptop. You could receive travel funding. Let me just pause right there and take the squeaky toy from my dogs. Just 1 second. All right. Hopefully she doesn't find another squeaky toy. That's just the joys of working at home, right? So you could receive funding for maybe a laptop, or they also host, well, it's non-pandemic, they host in-person conferences in different parts of the country. So you might receive funding to attend one of those conferences. It's essentially to get you started early. And the due date is in March of your junior year for the College Prep Scholars Program. They accept several thousand students into the program, and they start programming. They provide you webinars or in-person opportunities that you can learn a little bit more about Questbridge. It's no obligation. It's free to apply. You don't have to go through the formal Questbridge process that I'll talk about in just a moment, but it is to get you started early. Your senior year, you can be part of the National College Match Program. So this is applying typically around the end of September of your senior year. The application process is pretty long. This is an application for admission, by the way. So it's not like the College Prep Scholars where it's their own application platform, but it is an application for admission. It is modeled off of the medical school residency program, essentially, right? So when you are a medical school student and you are trying to get into a residency program, you will apply to a certain number of programs, rank them, and then every medical student in the country gets their match to go to, right, the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota or wherever it might be. Boston General, for example. The same opportunity exists for undergraduates getting into Questbridge. And so what happens is that you can rank up to 12 colleges on this list that you see here. And colleges will also read your application and rank you if you rank them. And we will choose a certain number of students. And if you are matched on match day, which is December 1st, then you will receive a 4-year full scholarship. That means $0 family contribution. And again, this is targeting low and modest income students, but it is an early admission, so you don't have to necessarily compare financial aid packages because it is all taken care of for you. It's a full scholarship. The other component is that if you don't match, only a small percentage of students do match to one of the 42 partners. You can also apply early decision, early action, or regular decision to colleges. And what's really great about this is that you don't even have to worry about application fee waivers. The Questbridge application is completely free to use. And you can apply to as many schools as you'd like. Now, I would not recommend 42 schools on your list, but you might have a half dozen or even as many as a dozen schools that you apply to, and you just have to let Questbridge know which schools you wish to apply to. And there are some additional requirements for each college. It depends on colleges, but Questbridge lays it out really nicely for you on their website of what is required. And so if you're not matched, that's what we call the second chance of admission, where you, even if you're not matched, you can still get great financial aid from these colleges. All right. So why apply Questbridge? Well, like I said, it's a free application. And so if you do identify as high achieving low income, it's super duper simple to do. There is a possibility of a full 4-year scholarship. And, you know, it's not one of these like it's a lottery or anything. There are a lot of students who get matched with full scholarships. And even if you don't get matched, you can still, like I said, get really wonderful financial aid from the college. It is a longer, more in-depth application. So there are more opportunities to write about your experiences. So there are short answers, longer answers, 2 biographical essays. And what's great about this, although it is more work, and I will be honest with you, it is more work and it takes more time, it allows you to explain who you are in more words than maybe the common application, coalition application, or another institutional application. There are specific opportunities to discuss part-time work and extenuating circumstances. You can do so using other application platforms, but it's really great to have Questbridge actually just ask you those questions directly. Counselors and teachers also have unique opportunities to talk about attributes or maybe barriers that you have gone through. Maybe they know about your family or about your neighborhood that they can comment on. And what's awesome is that you join the Quest Scholars Network at Swarthmore. There are more than 225 students who are Questies, and that's out of our 1,640 students who are Swarthmore students. So just know that you are joining a large supportive network. Whether or not you attend Swarthmore, all of the college partners have this network on their campus. So some upcoming dates, one is right around the corner, and that's the application due dates. So for all 42 partners, Questbridge has one due date, and that's September 29th. If you do apply by September 29th, you will also indicate your rankings. And so you can rank 1, you can rank 6, you can rank 12, it really is up to you. But you have to be okay with any one of those schools because it is a binding agreement. You agree, even if you get into the 12th ranked school on your list, that you will go. And remember, it's a full scholarship, so there should be no excuse. You have to be really, really excited about all of the colleges on your list. So that rankings form is due October 15th. We let you know whether or not, or Questbridge lets you know whether or not you're a finalist. If you're a finalist, you can continue on with the National College Match Program. If you're a non-finalist, you can still apply early and regular decision to these colleges. November 4th is when you indicate whether or not you're going to apply to regular decision schools as well. And then December 1st is the big day. That's match day, where everyone finds out at the exact same time whether or not they were matched. To learn more, we encourage you to go to questbridge.org. Again, just a ton of resources there. We also post even more information about Questbridge right on our website. We have some of our requirements there. We sort of break down the National College Match Program. There's a really wonderful, I think, 3-minute video maybe about the National College Match Program if you're interested in that. That sort of helps break down the program for you. So please check out those website resources. There are ways in the application process that we really try to break down barriers. And so you might be coming from an under-resourced school, or you might be first generation. We want to ensure that regardless of what your background is, you are able to apply and you are able to thrive in the admissions process. At Swarthmore, we have an all expenses paid trip to Swarthmore. This is when we don't have a global pandemic on our hands. It is a physical trip, all expenses paid to Swarthmore, whether you're coming from Philadelphia or Hawaii. It doesn't matter to us. We pay for your round trip airfare and meals and expenses as a prospective student, so even before you apply. And this is really trying to find additional high achieving, yet usually lower income first generation students, or simply students who are underrepresented in higher education as well as at Swarthmore. This year it's a virtual program. It is still selective, and we are providing these resources so that you can get to know the campus, but it's just going to be on Zoom as opposed to being in person. We also offer application fee waivers. You heard me talk a little bit about this. We have a pretty simple system. You go to swatpass.swarthmore.edu to figure out whether or not you're eligible for an application fee waiver. And Christina can post that in our chat as well. You answer just a handful of questions, and within 24 hours, we will let you know whether or not you qualify at Swarthmore for a fee waiver. And if you do, we will send you the instructions right away. Another piece that we are trying to prevent is students taking standardized testing and risking their health to do so. That is one of the reasons why we are test optional for fall 2021 and fall 2022. And we're really serious about this. You are going to be at no disadvantage if you choose not to take the test or choose to withhold your test from us. We are committed to a holistic process where we will review all aspects of your application. Just if you choose test optional, we won't review your test score. We also accept self-reported testing, so you don't have to pay the SAT or ACT. You don't have to pay College Board or ACT to submit your test to us. This applies to everyone. You can just simply self-report your standardized testing if you want us to consider that right on the application. And then for eligible students, if you are admitted and you choose to enroll, we also waive your enrollment deposit fee, which is about $250. We don't charge a housing deposit to anyone. And then again, in non-pandemic times, we do have another fly-in program for admitted students who are low income and first generation called SWAT Lite. And that's part of our larger SWAT Struck admitted student program. For more information, you can visit our website on the right-hand side here. You can see our whole menu of access and affordability topics where we are partnering with national organizations. We have dedicated resources to rural and small town students. You'll also find information for undocumented students on our website, and just a bunch of information that we hope is really helpful to you in applying to Swarthmore. So very briefly, like I said, we will have a whole webinar dedicated to holistic review and how we choose students. But very quickly, I wanted to talk about the different aspects of your application and what we are looking at, right? So holistic review means that we look at all aspects of your application, not just a GPA, not just an essay, but literally everything. And we have long conversations in our admissions committee and with each other on whether or not you're going to be a good academic and social fit for Swarthmore. First and foremost, we look at academic achievement. So we open up your high school transcript. We look at school context, so what kind of curriculum is available at your school, how well you're doing in that curriculum, what choices you've made, and how well you're doing compared to your peers at your school. We don't compare students from one school to another because you have different academic opportunities in front of you and different curriculum. Like I said, testing is optional for the next 2 years. For essays, we will look at 2 essays. One is on your main Common App or Coalition application essay, about 650 words or so. You choose one of the topics and write about that. That applies to all colleges to which you apply. Like I said, Questbridge is a little different. You'll have other opportunities to write. And then our supplemental question or short answer question is 150 to 250 words. Letters of recommendation, we require 1 from a counselor at your school, and then 2 from academic area teachers. So these are core academic areas like English, science, math, social studies, foreign language. We want to hear, who are you inside of the classroom? What kind of stories will the teacher tell us about you? And can we see you at Swarthmore, right? Are you involved in hobbies or intellectual pursuits? Are you intellectually curious? Are you asking the how and why questions of the world? Those types of things are important in our application review process. And then what you're doing outside of the classroom. So traditionally, we call these extracurricular activities like student clubs and organizations, but this could also include part-time jobs and family responsibilities. So anything that you're doing outside of the classroom. And again, we understand the world right now. We understand that you might not be engaged in student organizations because you're virtually learning, and that's okay. We get that. So don't worry too much about that. We also have some optional opportunities like an interview. So if you're a senior right now, and you want to interview with Swarthmore, it's not required. It is an option for you, but you can sign up right now. And then if you have additional talents like art or music or creative writing, you can submit a portfolio through SlideRoom. And the faculty will review it, and we will review it as an admissions committee, and it can really only help you in your application process. If you want to major in music or art or dance, we don't require that you submit a portfolio. Those are non-portfolio based programs, but you have that option. And then we talked a little bit about early decision and regular decision. Essentially, early decision is a binding program. You're agreeing, if admitted, I will enroll in the fall, and I will withdraw my applications from other colleges and universities. It is an advantage statistically or number-wise. There are fewer students who apply early decision. We try to fill about half of our class in early decision, whereas most students will apply regular decision, and we're trying to fill the other half of the class with regular decision. But it's only for students who we are your number one choice, and it doesn't matter where else you get in, this is where you want to be. This is one of the final slides, making Swarthmore affordable. We meet 3 commitments to students and their families. We place nearly all of our resources into need-based financial aid. We do have some merit scholarships. Great thing is that there are no additional essays or deadlines or applications. If you apply for admission, you will automatically be considered for full tuition merit scholarships. But for financial aid, for all students and families, we meet these 3 commitments. 1, we are need blind in our admissions process. This is for US citizens, permanent residents, and undocumented students graduating from a US high school. What this means is that when I open up your application, when our admission deans are reviewing your application, we don't know if you're applying for financial aid. And frankly, it just doesn't really matter to us. What matters to us is what we just talked about: your essays, your grades, what kind of school you go to, what kind of family you're coming from. Are you first in your family to attend college, right? So the context of your application is really important. The second commitment is that we meet 100% of determined financial need. So we use a couple of forms, the FAFSA and the CSS profile, to determine just how much your family can actually afford for a Swarthmore education. We add up the entire cost of attendance, tuition and fees, residence hall, meal plan, transportation to and from home, books and supplies, personal expenses. We subtract what you and your family can reasonably be expected to pay for based on parent or guardian income and assets mostly. And the difference is what is left over. And we meet 100% of that difference. And we do so with our third commitment, which is loan-free financial aid awards. And so you will not find a loan in your financial aid award at Swarthmore. It's going to be made up of grants and scholarships, plus typically a work study or part-time job to pay for personal expenses on campus. At this point, I want to take your questions, but I also want to invite you to stay connected with us. We have several more webinars coming up. These are just 2 of them that we have posted right now. Why I chose SWAT, Student Life and More at Swarthmore, as well as Behind the Curtain, Holistic Admissions at Swarthmore. So these are coming up in October. We will have additional ones in October, in November. Some of them will be recorded like this one and placed online, and some of them won't. And so if you are interested in these topics, we recommend that you go to swarthmore.edu/connect, and you can find all of those opportunities, including campus tours and Q&As with admission deans and a recorded information session all about Swarthmore right there. And we invite you to connect with us. So with that, I want to leave you with our contact us slide. So if you have questions for us or the financial aid office, if you want to connect with us on social media, you are welcome to do so. And at this time, if you can use the Q&A function, and I will read out questions and try to answer those for you as best as I can. All right. First question. If I were next year to apply to Swarthmore, and I do decide to give a test score, what test score is good enough to submit? This is a good question. Can't entirely answer this question, okay? And the reason for that is because testing is not looked at in isolation. It's not isolated as a variable in our admissions review process and said, okay, you passed, right? It isn't a test score where you either pass or you fail. It really is very dependent on access to resources. Did your family go to college? Did your family not go to college, right? What area of the country are you coming from? What are the national percentiles of standardized testing? What I would recommend is that you go to our website, and Christina can post maybe our fact sheet where we have published at least last year's middle 50% in standardized testing. The middle 50% means that 50% scored between this score and this score, 25% below the low score, and 25% above the high score. If you are comfortably in the top 25%, absolutely, please submit your standardized testing. That's going to be great for us. It's not going to be at any disadvantage to do so. If you're comfortably within that middle 50%, you might want to ask, well, does this adequately show my academic abilities? So when the admissions officer is going to be opening up not only my standardized testing, but also my transcript, will this help show that I can do good academic work at Swarthmore? If the answer is yes, then by all means submit it, right? That's kind of my best general information that I can give you. The question that we are trying to answer is, are you going to be academically successful at Swarthmore in your given field? So if you're thinking about, for example, studying math, science, pre-medicine, engineering, computer science, these fields that require a lot of mathematics, we want to ensure that you can step directly into calculus your first year at Swarthmore, right? So if you have great grades in a calculus-based curriculum your senior year, that might tell us what we need to know. Maybe you did really well in the math examination though, and you want to show that too, right? The answer to this question, or the nuance of the answer to this question, is don't feel like you have to take a test, an examination in order to get admitted to Swarthmore, because that's not the answer, right? If you've already taken an examination, you might just want to look at our averages and say, this seems plausible, that this score is, within sort of out of the middle 50% or towards the top end, and they probably want to see that, right? If you feel like it's not going to be a good demonstration of your academic abilities, maybe it is within the bottom 25%, then you can exercise test optional policies. So I know that's not really an answer to your question because I just can't answer that specific question. It really is up to you, but I hope that provides some additional context for you. Second question, what do international students fill out in terms of forms? Yeah, good question. If you are a US citizen or permanent resident, you will fill out the FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid, and the CSS profile, all right? Both of those will be required of US citizens and permanent residents. If you are undocumented, or you receive DACA status as an undocumented student, or you're an international student, you will only fill out the CSS profile. Now, international students outside of the United States generally don't have access to fee waivers for the CSS profile. So in that case, and let's say your family cannot afford the CSS profile, or you can't afford to submit it. You don't actually have to pay any money to fill it out, but you have to pay money to the college to submit it. If you can't pay that fee to submit it, we ask that you complete the free International Student Financial Aid application, the ISFA. And this is posted right on our financial aid website. I think Christina can probably post the link to our financial aid for international students page, where you can find the free International Student Financial Aid application. And we just ask that you submit that to us. When you apply to Swarthmore, starting right around beginning of October, so coming up here, if you're a senior, you will have access to your checklist. And this is your application checklist, where you can see, oh, did my letters of recommendation get submitted? Or did the college receive my school transcript? Within that checklist, you will have a link to your financial aid checklist. And you should pay attention to that, because that's what we will require in the financial aid process. And you'll be able to see when things are checked off, whether you're a domestic or international student. Great question. All right. Next question. If I am nervous applying early decision because of concerns about financial aid prices, should I apply early decision or regular decision? Great question. All right. Here's what I'll say is you shouldn't allow financial aid to dictate exactly the way that you apply, either early decision or regular decision, right? So I don't want my message to be only wealthy students can apply early decision and low income students can only apply regular. That is not the message here. The message is that you might just have to do your homework a little earlier than other students. And what I mean by that is we ask that you complete the net price calculator, especially if you're thinking about applying early decision. The net price calculator basically uses all the bells and whistles that we use in the financial aid process. And so we ask about parent income and parent assets, student income, student assets, if your family has a retirement account, if you have other siblings in college, like it's pretty extensive. And we ask a lot of questions just to give you a really good ballpark figure of what you and your family would be expected to contribute. Now, even within your family contribution, you can take out some loans in order to help pay for that family contribution. Remember what I said is that we are loan-free in financial aid, meaning we do not package loans in our financial aid offers. However, you can still get assistance through loans to help pay for your family contribution. If you and your family sit down, go through the net price calculator, and feel like, this is a pretty good ballpark figure, and if things are expected to stay relatively the same. Now, with COVID-19 and the pandemic, I understand that this is really difficult to predict of whether or not there are going to be big changes in family income and that sort of thing. If you feel confident that you can pay the family contribution and that you really want to be at Swarthmore, then by all means, you should at least consider applying early decision. Our financial aid folks are always available if you wanted to email them or Zoom with them and ask questions. If you're confused about the process, please feel free to do so. If you want to compare financial aid packages before making a decision, so you want your 3 financial aid packages from 3 different colleges right in front of you, you're going to figure out what you need to pay, how many loans you need to take out, these sorts of things. If that is what you want to do, then yes, you should apply regular decision, because at that point, that is the only way that you can truly compare financial aid packages. So again, I can't answer the question directly for you and your family, but I hope that provides you a bit more information about the process and what we expect you to do. All right, next. In regards to the income changes that have occurred because of the pandemic, when should we update our FAFSA CSS profiles, and should we let you know? Absolutely let us know. We're not the financial aid office. You do have to email finaid@swarthmore.edu and ask this question a little bit more in depth. I don't know their process for updates on the FAFSA or the CSS profile. I'm not sure if you have to file a new one, or you can amend it, or you can just tell the financial aid office. So I just recommend that you get in touch with financial aid directly. Again, it's right here on the screen, finaid@swarthmore.edu, and they can help you more with that. But yes, I highly recommend that if things change to your family income or whatever it might be, that you let the financial aid office know. Next question. Does your intended major impact how your application is reviewed? Potentially, yes. We need to ensure, for example, if you need mathematical building blocks as part of your major, so if you are applying to engineering, biochemistry, biology, chemistry, and that you need assistance or you need support with that type of major, then we need to be really careful, and we need to be very thoughtful about students we admit to those types of majors. Now, you're not admitted to a major. Just keep this in mind with Swarthmore. And again, you can find out more about this in our information session or Q&A with the dean. So I can give you a little bit of information here, but keep in mind that you're not applying to a major, you're applying to the college. However, we want to be thoughtful. If you do have something in mind, we want to make sure that you are going to be successful in whatever you choose, right? So I'll give you an example of this. Let's say you are interested in a STEM major. Well, the first level math class that we offer is single variable calculus at Swarthmore, right? So if you are a senior in high school and you have reached algebra 2 and you have not reached pre-calculus and you have not reached calculus, it's going to be really difficult to go from senior in high school algebra 2 into a single variable calculus class, right? So we want to ensure that you're going to be successful even if you change your mind. Some students do change their mind, some students don't change their mind. So it can impact your admissions because, again, we don't want to set anyone up for failure. We want to make sure that everyone admitted can be supported. There's no impact if you choose undecided. If you choose undecided in your major application, that is completely fine. In fact, we really like to see that simply because we're a liberal arts college. We want you to explore the curriculum in depth, right? Humanities majors, so this is English literature and languages. This is music and dance, right? So the humanities majors are underrepresented, not only at Swarthmore, but at selective schools and in higher education in general. And so if you are a really great humanist, you just love philosophy, then that could be a little bit of a bonus on your application because we want to find really great humanists for our college, right? And so know that these might have little tiny sort of effects on your application, but you should just be authentic in what you choose. If you love biology and you can't get enough biology, you want to be a biology major, put biology, right? If you truly are undecided, that is okay too. So think more about what you are really interested in and go with that on the application. Great question. When do you recommend submitting the FAFSA and the CSS profile? Well, you can't submit the FAFSA until at least October 1st of your senior year. So you do have to wait a few more days. I think you can start on the CSS profile right now. I am not a financial aid officer though, so I can't answer these questions in depth. What I recommend that you do is visit our financial aid website and reach out to the financial aid office if you have questions. But yes, we would recommend that you adhere to the deadlines, which are the same deadlines as your admission deadlines. So if you apply early decision 1, fall early decision, that's due, the application and all the materials are due November 15th, and your financial aid applications are due November 15th. So try to adhere to that, but it's not going to affect your admissions decision. So if you are not able to get those documents together for financial aid, know that we are still committed to meeting 100% of your need. We don't run out of money. So even if it takes you a little bit longer, that is a-okay with us. Next question. Do international students complete the same net calculator? That's really tough because the net price calculator is actually not made for international students. It's really made for domestic students. So unfortunately, I can't tell you don't use it, but I have to tell you that the methodology really isn't practical for international students, different tax systems abroad, especially if you are abroad as an international student as opposed to in the United States. What I recommend is that you go through the financial aid website, read up more on frequently asked questions for international students, and reach out to the financial aid office if you're interested in hearing maybe what an estimated financial aid award might be for you. I'm not sure if they'll be able to do that for international students, but you can always ask. Next question. Does Swarthmore have a policy or policies if a student is accepted early decision, but the family does not feel that the college gave the student enough aid to make it affordable? Great question. We want you to put good faith effort into this process because we are placing good faith effort into our side of the process. So what I would say to any family asking this question is, I would ask, have you filled out the net price calculator? The answer is yes, we filled it out. We feel really comfortable with the financial aid that is estimated. Now it's only an estimate, but if things stay the same, we feel really good about that, you might say. Then I would say, well, is your student, or are you 100% committed to Swarthmore? And if the answer is yes, we love Swarthmore, I really want to be there, that is the place for me, then I would say, think about applying early decision. You say, okay, I will apply early decision. Well, if on December 15th you get your financial aid award and it's different, it's just significantly different from what you have done. Now, with the net price calculator, good information out, right? So inputs and outputs, right? As long as you are being super accurate with your information, we just ask that you do that. And if it doesn't work out, we do have a very small number every year, 1 or 2 students typically every year, where it just doesn't work out financially. We really don't want to get to that point because it's really heartbreaking for the student, right? To apply early decision, to get admitted, and then to realize, even though you did everything we asked you to do, that you just can't attend Swarthmore, right? That would be a scenario where we would release you from the early decision agreement and you can go on to apply to other schools. Again, we don't want that to happen because I've seen it over and over my decade-long career in admissions, and it isn't fun for anyone involved. That is a very different scenario than a family saying, we're not going to fill out the net price calculator. Yeah, we do need financial aid, or we need a merit scholarship, and we're just going to hope that we get the scholarship that we want. In that circumstance, that is not good planning, and that is going to be a really difficult conversation then with the financial aid office and ultimately with the vice president and dean of admissions, which is my boss, right? So I highly recommend that you do as much work as you can early on, feel good about what that net price calculator might be, and then we can approach that later on. For most families, though, for the vast, vast majority of families, the net price calculator is going to be a good ballpark figure, and most of those students who apply early decision will be able to come. Any other questions? We have 4 minutes, maybe. No other questions? Well, I just want to thank you for engaging with us this evening or this afternoon or this morning, wherever you might be in the world. We encourage you to, again, attend other webinars. Some of these will be recorded. Thank you so much to my colleague, Christina Danberg, for helping us with the Q&A this evening. And take care. We hope that you're healthy and safe, and not as stressed as maybe other students, given the college application process. Just breathe, take a moment, recharge, do whatever you need to do, and reach out if you have any questions at all. So thanks so much for being with us today, and take care.